Hello, so I'm going to make a quick walkthrough of how to make some diagonal lines using for loops and how we might make a pattern of diagonal lines using for loops. So first let's just acquaint ourselves with the background or with the what axes we're working on, like what even matrices are we in. So let's take a look at that just to remind ourselves. So println which is going to print out to the console. So I'm going to do print out mouse X position, like that. Oop. Mouse X, which is built into P5. And we'll do the same thing for mouse Y. Like so. There we go. So let's see what that gives us. So we have a funny shaped canvas. First of all, we'll fix that in a minute. Opening the console with Alt-Command-J. All right, now it's telling me where my mouse is. So we can see that up here is our 0, 0 point. I can't quite get it to 0, 0, but you see the numbers are really low. And then as I move over here, my X gets bigger, so that's my X axis. And then as I move down, the Y gets bigger. So the biggest point would be in the bottom right corner. So that's just acquainting ourselves with what's the axes that we're working on. As you go down, the Y gets bigger. As you go to the right, the X gets bigger. So it's just helpful to figure out what's going on and to remind ourselves. So if we want to draw, let's just draw a diagonal line first of all without a for loop at all. So I'll just make it slightly diagonal, have it start up here and then go down somewhere to here. All right, so let's give that a try. So first, let's make the canvas something a little bit more reasonable. Let's just make it 600 by 600, like that. Okay, let's see if that worked. Okay, yeah, so that's better. All right, so now let's do our diagonal line. So in P5, it's just line, and then X, so the parameters, the arguments it takes are X1, Y1, and then X2 and Y2. So the first one points are the starting point of the line, and then the second points are the stopping point of the line. So if I want to make a straight line up and down, I might do something like 50, 0. So this is a little bit over and then all the way at the top, right? Because we're 50 over in the X and then all the way up the top on Y, which is 0. And then we'll be in the same line on the X because this is a straight line for now. And then let's make it all the way to the height. So we can just use the word height to do that. So let's save that, refresh. Okay, so there we go. We have our straight line that's going all the way down to the height. So what if I want to make this diagonal? So we're going to make it sort of slant over in the x-axis. So in order to do that, let's make a variable. I'll just make we'll make a global variable. Let's make a global variable. Oop, what's that doing there? Get rid of that. Okay, I'm going to call this slant. And I'm going to do 50 plus slant. All right, so that's going to vary the x position of the second point. So let's start off with slant equaling 50. See if we can see anything there. Ah, yes, it's diagonal. Okay, so we can see however much we vary this. Let's just do something crazy. 300. Ah, okay. So now it's slanted even more. So we can see that this slant variable is giving us how much it's going to slant. All right, so now we're getting somewhere. And say I want to make multiples of this line. So I could just move it over, say by 10 here. Oh, that would be moving it to the left. So actually, if I want to make it 6, if I want to move it over, let's do 60, 60. So that'll put a line. We have the line right here right now, and we'll put another line right there. So let's try that. Okay, we have another line. Background disappeared because I deleted that. Okay, so that's cool. So we have some diagonal lines there. Ah! Oh no, got a time limit. All right, so let's put this in a for loop and get it to go all the way across diagonal lines. Okay, so for our for loop, let's get that going. So I'm going to have my initial value. I'm going to call this offset because we're going to be moving it over by a certain offset. We're going to start it as 0, and we're going to say, well, offset is less than 20. We're going to try to draw 20 lines. And then my last one is how much I'm going to increment it by. So first, let's just try it with 1 pixel, just for the sake of it. So I'll do plus equals 1. I can also just go offset plus plus. It means the same thing, but we'll do plus equals 1 for now. So now let's draw our line inside of our for loop. We should have about 20 lines when we're done with this. So line, and I'm going to draw it at the offset x position. And then y, since we're still starting at the top, it's going to be 0. And then here, offset, but then it would just be a straight line, so we're going to do plus that slant again. And then our last variable is going to be the height because we want it to go all the way down. So let's see what that gives us. Not now. Okay. Whoa, so we see one big solid line. So the reason that this is happening is because we only have one offset, so we're drawing actually 20 lines, but they're right next to each other. So that's a lot. So what we could do instead is do plus equals 20. So now we have 20 pixels between each line, but we'll also want to increase this as well. So let's make this, if we still want it to be 20, let's make it 200. Let's make it 400. Ooh. Okay, so now we're getting a for loop that's drawing a lot of diagonal lines. The reason they're cut off here is just because this is the edge of the canvas here. So this is the basics of how to draw a lot of diagonal lines inside of a for loop. There's another way, there's other ways we could do it with a for loop, so let's just comment this out for a second. And let's do it another way. So say we didn't want to sort of figure out the math that we were doing up here of like how many lines and how far apart we want them to be. So let's separate that out. So I want my for loop just to tell me how many lines to draw and not how far apart they are. So let's do the same thing. This time I'll just call it I. Well, I is less than 20, and then I'm going to increment I by 1, which I can do just by plus equals. So same as doing that. Okay, and then I'll draw lines. I'll draw the line. Okay, so, but now I'm not using I. So what I want to do now is to increment offset. So let's make offset its own variable, just like slant. Var offset x, because we're incrementing in the x, so it makes sense to call it offset x. We're going to give it an initial value of 0 at first, and then every time in the offset loop, we'll just add 20 to the variable offset. Offset x now. Let's try that. Okay, so now we're doing essentially the same thing we did in this for loop. We're just using the for loop differently. Instead of creating a variable that we use to draw our line, we're just using the for loop to define how many times this thing loops, and then we're drawing at this offset, which we're incrementing separately. So let's try this out. Okay. So that seems to be working fine. There's just a little bit difference in the math. Here we were drawing a little less than 20. Okay, so here's another way of going about it. So there's drawing diagonal lines. Say we wanted to draw them in the opposite direction. We could do minus slant, and let's see what that does. Okay, so now they're drawing in the opposite direction. And I could draw lines on top of each other if I wanted to sort of make a diagonal grid pattern. So what if I just do that? Let's try that. Well, but here we need to reset offset as 0. So let's do that. Offset x equals 0. Because by the time I'm done with this for loop, offset x is going to be 20 times 20 at the end there. So that's going to be a lot bigger than we want to start as an initial value of offset x. So we're going to reset that. And all right, so now we're getting a sort of cross-hatched pattern here. So now we have different diagonal lines. Say we didn't want them to be so evenly spaced. There's a lot of things that we could do here. We could have them all draw into the corner if we wanted them to. So their starting points would be different, but we could make, say, their ending points all the same. So if I wanted it to go to the bottom right corner, I could do this. Ooh, cool. So now they're all going to this corner, but they're all starting up here. So that's something you can do to play around with it. You could also say make two different offset variables. So say offset x 2. So we'll have another offset x, and we'll call this one, we'll also set this one up as 0. And then we'll use that to vary the offset of the ending point of the line. So offset x2 plus slant. And now the only difference between offset x and then our second offset x is we're going to make the increment a little bit smaller. All right, offset x2. Okay, and we'll do plus equal, so it equals itself plus, say, like 5 pixels. So see how this changes it. Ooh, yeah, so we can see that they're still, they have a certain spacing from the first, at their starting points, and a different ending point, different spacing at their ending points. So this is because we made two different offset variables that were incremented differently. So hopefully this answers your question about drawing diagonal lines with for loops. So let me know if you have any more questions.